distinguished personalities on the podium, our honored guests from Sri Lanka, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you, and especially to His Excellency the Governor of Orissa, Sri S.C. Jameel, who, when we approached him, graciously and readily agreed to inaugurate this seminar. I am also pleased to welcome His Excellency the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, Mr. Esela Veerakun, who is the Patron-in-Chief of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation, the Honorable Minister of Industries of Orissa, Sri Devi Prasad Mishra, the Honorable Minister for Culture and Tourism of Orissa, Sri Ashok Kumar Panda, our distinguished patron, Sri Vijay Panda, Member of Parliament, Sri Gokul Pati, Chief Secretary of Orissa, and Mrs. Namrata Kumar, Deputy Director General of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Their presence at this first major event of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation gives us inspiration and encouragement. But I've been a little remiss. We are to light the lamp, and then I'll proceed with the rest of my welcoming address. Dr. Naveen Kumar Sahu, Dr. Manmat Nath Das, Dr. Prabhat Mukherjee, Dr. Bhavani Rai, Dr. Altaf Hussain, and the two Dr. Rajendra Dases. It was Dr. Naveen Sahu's pioneering research on Buddhism in Orissa which planted the desire in me to pursue the history of Kalinga's shadowy links with Sri Lanka. I shared my plan to work on a doctorate on Kalinga and Sri Lanka with my friend and classmate, Dr. Karunasagar Behera, a great historian himself, and he painstakingly wrote out a bibliography for me, which I still preserve. 20 years after I joined the Indian Foreign Service, I had my first opportunity to visit Sri Lanka. I looked around. Yes, the Sri Lankans did look like distant cousins. I could even follow their language on Rupavahini, their national television. A shopkeeper in Colombo asked me what I thought was an absurd question. He said, "Sir, your name is Lalit Manasinghe. Why are you carrying an Indian passport?" So it struck me that my name had been pronounced in the Odia way for the first time outside Orissa. Kalinga has played a large role in Sri Lanka's history. The Sinhalas trace the ancestry to the Kalinga prince Vijaya, who landed on their shores with 700 men in the 6th century BC. 3 centuries later, Emperor Ashoka came to Kalinga as a bloodthirsty conqueror, but returned to his capital Pataliputra as a remorseful, peace-loving follower of the Buddha. Sri Lanka was the collateral beneficiary of the Kalinga War. Ashoka sent his daughter and son, Sanghamitra and Mahendra, to plant a sapling of the sacred Bodhi tree and spread the message of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. The two nations maintained close dynastic, political, commercial, cultural, and religious contacts for close to 1500 years. The sacred tooth relic of the Buddha was taken to Sri Lanka from the Kalinga capital of Dantapura, identified by Dr. Naveen Kumar Sahu as Palur on the Chilika Lake. Some of the most famous kings of Sri Lankan's history were connected to Kalinga by blood or by marriage. Mention may be made of King Vijaya Bahu, perhaps also known as Kalinga Maga, and King Nisanka Malla. Incidentally, the queen of King Vijaya Bahu was Triloka Sundari, a princess from Kalinga. The Sinhala language still retains remarkable similarities with the languages of Eastern India. It is interesting that in Odia, the word chili is called Lanka Moricha, and the cashew fruit is called Lanka Ambo. We are honored to have with us His Excellency the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, Mr. Esala Virakun, who is here on his very first visit outside Delhi to the capital. He is joined by a galaxy of leading scholars and experts from Sri Lanka. And among them are, and as I call out, I request the scholars to kindly stand up so that the audience can recognize them. Professor B.D. Nandadeva, the University of Kelaniya. Professor S. Kopirheva from the University of Colombo. Professor Anura Manatunga from University of Kelaniya. Professor Asanga Tilaka Ratne is not here yet. He'll be joining us later. Professor Anoma Abhay Ratna from the South Asian University in Delhi. And we also have Mr. R. Vijay Shekhara, who is based in Delhi. These experts from Sri Lanka will have an opportunity to exchange views with the best experts that we have in India on the subjects to be discussed. So to all our distinguished Sri Lankan friends in the gathering, I am pleased to greet you with Ayo Bhavan and to welcome you to the land of your ancestors. India is Sri Lanka's largest trading partner globally, while Sri Lanka is India's second largest trading partner in SAARC. Our mutual trade and investments have taken a leap forward after the signing of the Indo-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement of 2000. One of the objectives of this seminar is to bring up new ideas on how to promote joint ventures in mutually beneficial areas like textiles, gems and jewelry, trade and tourism. So as you can see, this seminar is not entirely an exercise in historical nostalgia. Even as we seek greater clarity through the fog of our historical past, we need to look ahead and assess the potential benefits of a renewed partnership. For example, Sri Lanka has recently completed a new port in Hambantota, and Odisha has similarly built Paradip and Dhamra as modern versions of the ancient Kalinga ports of Tamralipta, Dantapura, and Kalingapattanam. Sri Lanka and the eastern region of India enjoy a strategic advantage for exploring the economic potential of the vast markets of ASEAN and beyond that of the giant economies of China, Japan, and Australia. The Kalinga Lanka Foundation's resources are modest, but its aspirations are unlimited. This seminar is just the first step to what we foresee is a long and rewarding journey. The Odisha chapter of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation will be inaugurated today by His Excellency, the Governor of Odisha. The next move will be to establish a chapter of the KLF in Colombo. Our forthcoming venture in India will be a Kalinga Lanka exhibition of textiles early next year, which will coincide with Sri Lanka's National Day. We have been overwhelmed by the generous support this seminar has received from many benefactors. I will, however, mention two institutions without whom this event may not have taken place. The first is the ICCR, the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, which readily agreed to sponsor the project. I will request the Deputy Director General to convey our appreciation to the President of the ICCR and to the Director General. And then I have to thank the Utkal University, and particularly the Vice Chancellor and his colleagues, especially Professor K.K. Basa, who readily took on the task of coordinating the academic part of the seminar and making the local arrangements. I will be failing in my duty if I did not acknowledge the contributions of Team KLF, the Kalinga Lanka Foundation. This team consists of two persons really. One is a general, the other is a soldier. The general in question is Mr. D.P. Bagchi, the former Chief Secretary of Odisha. And I've discovered that he has legendary powers of persuasion in Odisha. And the soldier in question is Mr. Samir Das, the Secretary of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation. Therefore, thank you for acknowledging their contributions. Let me conclude by quoting a few lines from the poem Sadhavajya, which means the merchant's daughter, which was written by Odisha's celebrated poet and my late father, Dr. Mahadhar Man Singh. And this is the opening of the poem, Bijano Bela, Kahunao Kahi Boitogola. The poet laments, why are our seashores empty? Where have the boats disappeared? So, let me respond to the poet by saying, we would like the shores of Kalinga to be crowded again by visitors and boats from Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia, as it used to be centuries ago. And for the people of Kalinga and Lanka to become once again the friendly cousins across the seas. Thank you for your patience. Jai Hind, Namo, Namo Lanka.
Your Excellency, Governor of Odisha, Shri S. Jamir, Ambassador Man Singh, Shri Panda, Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Devu Prasad Mishra, Honorable Minister of Industries, Government of Odisha, Your Excellency, Mr. S. L. Urakun, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka to India, other distinguished dignitaries on dais, participants from Sri Lanka, India, friends, students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Indian Council for Cultural Relations, ICCR, and as a partner of Kalinga Lanka Foundation, it gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all to the inaugural session of the conference, Kalinga Lanka, Reviving Old Linkages and Looking for the New Opportunities. The conference being jointly organized by the Kalinga Lanka Foundation and Utkal University. This conference is a symbol of strong relations that the two South Asian countries, the neighbors, share and have been sharing since ages. The relationship between India and Sri Lanka is more than 2,500 years old. Both countries have a legacy of intellectual, cultural, religious, and linguistic interaction. In recent years, the relationship has been marked by close contacts at all levels. Trade and investment have grown, and there is cooperation in the fields of development, education, culture, and defense. Both countries share a broad understanding on major issues at the international level also, and of the mutual international interest. Political relations between the two countries have been marked by high-level exchanges of visits at a regular interval. President Sri Sena visited India on a four-day visit in February 2015. Before that, Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Mangala Swaravira visited New Delhi in January 2015 on his first overseas official visit. Earlier, President Mahinda Rajapaksa traveled to Delhi in May 2015 to attend the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Modi and visited other cities of India. These high-level interventions and visits symbolize that how the two countries are taking the relationship very seriously and for putting it forward, for putting it across for the future generation. Then Prime Minister Mr. D.M. Jairatne attended the 19th convocation ceremony of Manipal University in November 2014. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Sri Lanka in January 2015. Like Ambassador Mansingh mentioned, Sri Lanka has been a very important country when it comes to trade and commerce relations. It has been a priority destination for direct investment from India. Sri Lanka is India's second largest trading partner in SAARC. The investments are in diverse areas, not just in one or two, starting from petroleum, retail, IT, services, hospitality, infrastructure, and also development sector. Last few years have also witnessed increasing trend of Sri Lankan investments into India. Significant examples include Bandarix, Mass Holdings, John Keel's, Haley's, and Atkins Spence, the hotel industry, apart from other investments in the freight servicing. Culture and education has been of special interest to both the countries, and these mark with some institutionalized mechanisms which are in place. The two countries signed Cultural Cooperation Agreement in 1977, and there is an intergovernmental initiative aimed towards advancement of scientific, technical, educational, cultural cooperation through civil society exchanges in the name of India-Sri Lanka Foundation, which was set up in 1988. Indian Cultural Center in Colombo is active in promoting all areas of cultural exchanges. India and Sri Lanka commemorated 2600th year of attainment of enlightenment of Lord Buddha jointly through joint activities. These also included the exposition of sacred Kapilvastu relics, which Ambassador Mansingh mentioned. In Sri Lanka, the exposition was taken very positively and visited with a wide audience. The two governments also jointly celebrated 150th anniversary of Angarika Dharmapala in 2014. The first Yoga International Day was also celebrated with great zeal in Colombo. Tourism has been a priority sector for both the countries and continue to be. Coming to state of Odisha, with its unique geographical position as the meeting ground of north and south of India, with a distinct identity of its own as Kalinga, which once covered not only coastal Orissa, but also coastal tracts of West Bengal and Andhra Pradesh, and its age-old links with Sri Lanka, is a significant part of our country, both in historical and contemporary context. This particular conference, Kalinga Lanka Conference, is a joint effort to bring ideas together on one platform by the Sri Lankan and Indian scholars. It is just aptly timed to further strengthen the relations between our two neighboring countries, and not just for the region, just for the two countries, but together to take these intellectual and academic exchanges and strength forward and spread to other regions of the world, including ASEAN and other regions. I once again welcome you all to this important conference and wish that you both enjoy and benefit from the stimulating deliberations through the conference. And the conference comes out to be an outcome of the ideas and vibrant exchanges that become part of the conference and is carried forward from one event to another. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Namrata Kumar. Now I invite the Vice Chancellor of the University of...
Your Excellency, Dr. S.C. Jamir, the Governor of Odisha and Chancellor of Utkal University. His Excellency, Esela Wirakung, High Commissioner Designate of Sri Lanka in India, all the honorable dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, delegates, invitees, and students. On behalf of Utkal University, I welcome all of you to this venue and the seminar. It is indeed a great honor for our university to have the presence of so many highly respected dignitaries for these historic events that heralds a new beginning to a very old partnership. When Ambassador Mansingh came to us with this proposal, we all were extremely excited and now you know the reason that we were excited at that time. Kalinga and Sri Lanka share a history going back more than 2000 years that speaks of shared values, exchanges of philosophic thoughts, accompanied at that time by profitable trade, academic and cultural interactions. Therefore, it is a matter of great delight and pride for this university, which happens to be the mother university of Odisha, to be part of a process that is attempting to rekindle this legacy and channelize this into many new and exciting partnerships. Utkal University is a multifaceted center of higher learning with scholarship spanning all branches of science, humanities, law, commerce, languages, and some technologies, representing the growth aspirations of the people of Odisha in its entirety. In this context, I believe that this place is the fittest place in Odisha to start a partnership and bring new beginnings. We pledge our active support to this renewed Kalinga-Sri Lanka partnership in all stages of its evolution. In whatever way we can, we will try to get associated. When I saw and read the names of so many professors visiting, I was, and I am sure most of my colleagues must have been excited, and we wish in days to come and years to come, many more educational exchanges can happen between Utkal University and Sri Lankan universities. I am sure good things will come out of this partnership. I am sure these seminar days and days following are going to be extremely exciting for all of you, fruitful for all of you. We have offered at Utkal University whatever we have in terms of facilities and our goodwill. In case that is not enough and delegates, invitees, and our friends from Sri Lanka have any inconveniences, I would like to tender an advance apology for any inadvertent inconveniences while you are in this campus. Thank you and do have a great time.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Das, for your kind words. Sri Ashok Chandra Panda, Minister of Tourism and Culture of the Government of Odisha, has to attend a meeting urgently. So I request him to address the gathering before he leaves.
As each of us know that Odisha is a coastal state having long history and glorious maritime heritage. Odisha, known as Kalinga, Utkal, Odra, and Odisha in the historical period, the seafarers of Odisha, the then Kalinga, had the knowledge of the sea pertaining to wind, currents, tides, weather conditions, and shipbuilding since 3rd millennium BC. The Kalinga of the ancient Odisha was the epicenter of the inland and foreign trade. We had a flourishing maritime trade, as history says. It was and a prosperous with the riverine crisscross from west to east, and its free, flexible access to Kalinga Sagar, which was redesigned later as Bay of Bengal. The geographical position of Kalinga with several rivers, shelter ports, provided an ideal environment of sea voyages. The popularity of Buddhism in Odisha from the days of Ashoka, the 3rd century BC, also contributed to the process of cultural transmission over several centuries. The religious preachers traveled in merchant vessels to preach Buddhism in South Asia and Southeast Asia countries. The legends narrate that 2000 families migrated to Java along with the prince of Kalinga in the early medieval period. The Buddha figure of Java has close similarity with the Buddha images discovered at Lalitgiri. The excavation finding from Shishupalgarh Ratnagiri, Manikapatna and Radhanagar throws light on this aspect. The ports of Kalinga, the recent archaeological finds from Radhanagar, an early historical Buddhist site, yielded a seal mentioning Sadabahu Tisa, which may indicate the Sri Lankan king Sada Tisa of 1st century BC. Similarly, the excavation at Manikapatna yielded coins of Sasmal, a king of Sri Lanka. The ports of Kalinga had several different sea routes to different lands for seaborne commerce. The Marines continued to have commercial, socio-cultural and political relations with Southeast Asian countries like Sri Lanka, Java, Sumatra, Bali, Borneo, China, Burma, Cambodia, Malaya and Thailand. The culture and commercial intercourse between Ceylon and Kalinga was known from 5th century BC. Tradition says that Vijay, the first king of Ceylon, came from eastern India, that is Kalinga region. Since then, the cultural intercourse between Odisha and Sri Lanka is continuing. As all of you know that Emperor Ashoka sent several missions to Sri Lanka after he was overtaken by the horrors of Kalinga War to propagate Buddhism. His son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra went to island of Ceylon for the spread of Buddhism. It is also known that Sanghamitra went to Ceylon being accompanied by 8 families of Kalinga with a sacred Bodhi tree. Again, Dantakumara from Kalinga took the sacred relic to Ceylon in 3rd to 4th century AD, where it was enshrined in a stupa at Anuradhapura, and now is at Tooth Relic Temple, Kandy. It is known that Nisakamala and Sahasmal, the sons of King Goparaj of Kalinga, became the ruler of Ceylon sometimes around 1186 AD. The effect of relationship between the royal families of Kalinga and Ceylon must have been considerable in socio-religious life of the two countries. The seaborne trade between Kalinga and Ceylon continued throughout the ancient period. Ceylon occupied a strategic position so far as inter-economic commerce was concerned. It was a meeting place of merchants and sellers coming from the eastern as well as western sea. Trade between Kalinga and Sinhala must have increased as a result of the strong political link that existed between the two countries. The Kalinga Lanka Foundation, in collaboration with the Utkal University and other organizations, is taking initiative to find out historical linkages as well as looking at promotion of tourism. Certainly will open the new opportunity in the field of historical research and tourism. I definitely congratulate the organization for such an initiative. Here, it will not be out of the place to mention that as another milestone to promote the Buddhist circuit in the state, the Diamond Triangle, Ratnagiri, Laltagiri, Udaygiri, Air India has announced the air connectivity. We had earlier the maritime connectivity or the STCs, now the air connectivity between the Varanasi and Bhubaneswar will help us, will augment the tourism promotion as well as the Buddhist pilgrims from other parts of Sri Lanka as well as from the Thailand and other places will get an opportunity to visit Bhubaneswar as well as the Diamond Triangle. And not only that, we have recently started the light and sound program at Dhauli, which also depicts not only the Kalinga War, also the linkage between Sri Lanka and the then Kalinga. Thank you all. I hope the seminar will be exciting one and thought-provoking one. Thank you.
Which will encourage the visits of tourists and pilgrims to Odisha along with the other holy sites of Buddhism. Now it is my pleasure to invite Shri Bajayant Panda, Honorable Member of Parliament.
The history of our two lands goes back more than 2 millennia. Every Odia has grown up hearing about this history. All of us have a consciousness about the strong linkages, the cultural linkages, the heritage of Sri Lanka and of Odisha, going back, as I said, more than 2 millennia. I have a personal interest in the subject, just like Ambassador Mansingh was mentioning about the poetry that harkens this relationship. Among the historians of the 20th century of modern Odisha, which he mentioned, one of them happened to be my grandfather. But as I said, this is something that touches all Odias. I was privileged to spend the last 3 days in Dharamshala with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And it touched me that this consciousness of Odisha's contribution, not only to South Asia, Southeast Asia, but to Buddhism at large, is something that is well known, well understood, and appreciated throughout the world. His Holiness specifically mentioned Odisha's contribution and the many ancient sites here in Odisha which helped propagate not just Buddhism, but an ethos all around the world. We've heard about the many sites. A couple of them, Lalitgiri and Ratnagiri, happen to be in and around the constituency which I am privileged to represent. And it goes without saying that some of the most advanced places of learning in the world, again going back 1 or 2 millennia, existed in this part of the world. But just like Ambassador Mansingh said, I would like to spend a few minutes shifting gears from history to the present day. And what has happened between Sri Lanka and India in recent years is worth noting, because taking that history forward, taking that heritage and that culture forward, we have a relationship that is playing out on many different fronts, on trade and commerce, on defense, even on cultural linkages in the modern 21st century. There was reference to trade agreements that have happened. Very few people, I think, recognize that we have defense arrangements. Sri Lanka and India partner in many defense exercises, and Sri Lanka is one of India's most important partners. In terms of trade and commerce, it is not just a bilateral relationship, but the emergence of Sri Lanka as one of the major trade hubs on the Indian Ocean holds immense potential for all of India. Now, if we look back at the ancient heritage of culture on the one hand, and trade and enterprise on the one hand, it is very impressive what Sri Lanka has achieved. In Odisha, I think we have maintained our connections to the cultural heritage that we have inherited. But in terms of the same kind of emphasis to be given to trade and enterprise, it is only now in recent years that we have started reviving that ancient heritage. The symbolism has always been there. Every Kartik Purnima, when we have Boita Bandhana, it harkens back to the ancient sailing of the merchant ships going out from Kalinga to all over South and Southeast Asia. But in terms of building modern day trade, modern day enterprise, I think we have a lot to learn from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a country that punches above its weight, as the phrase goes, in terms of the clout it carries. Not only just trade and commerce, but in all the other spheres that I have talked about. Odisha has been taking a keener interest in reviving these old connections. You've heard the Honorable Minister talk about the need for direct flights. That is, of course, very much necessary. But it gives me great privilege to be a part of this Kalinga Lanka Foundation, whose basic purpose is to revive, renew, and revitalize these ancient connections. Thank you very much for taking an interest in this enterprise, and I look forward to a new millennium that succeeds in doing everything that we used to be doing as two lands going back 2,000 years ago. Thank you, and especially for our guests from outside the country, welcome to Odisha.
It is now my privilege to request Sri Devi Prasad Mishra, Honorable Minister for Industries, to give his address.
Good morning to everybody. Really, we are proud that Utkal University, not only the students and professors as mentioned by Dr. Das are happy, but we all are happy that this is a good beginning, reviving the old ties of Kalinga and Sri Lanka and exploring the new opportunities. In 2 days, we'll be discussing the seminars, workshops, interactions. Panelists will be present, students can participate. And it is a really good beginning. And I am thankful very much for this 2-day seminar workshop, and in which today His Excellency is attending. And thank you, Dr. Man Singh ji, Dr. Sri Bagchi, and other friends, Sri Samir Das and other friends who have organized this, including Utkal University, who is facilitating this. And really, we know in maritime history, the present Orissa, geographical state called Orissa, which was earlier called Kalinga, we were sea conquerors. The Bay of Bengal, till up to 16th century, it was called Kalinga Sagara. And many historians mention, and it is vividly, because this is not the appropriate forum to tell, in the panel discussions we can interact, wherein the ex-Vice Chancellor of Culture University is here, in Arjya Manjusri Mulakalpa, and other Suktas, it is vividly mentioned that about Kalinga Sagara. And the king of Kaling in different times, whether from Godavari to Mahanadi, or beyond that, even King Kharavela reached up to Kandahar, and they have a history of maritime glory. And even our ancestors, they used to take the sea route connectivity to go to present Singhala, Ceylon, Lanka, and beyond that up to Southeast Asia, the present Singapore, which was earlier called Singapore, and from Singhala to Singapore, and then from Malaya, Malaysia, to different part of Indonesia, and even crossing Yellow Sea to South China. Recently, I had been to 3 months ago, I had been to Cambodia, and which was earlier called Cambodia, and by the side of our civilization grew by the side of the river Ganges, by the side of river Mekong. One Brahmin called Kambu, he was first established a kingdom in Cambodia, and where till now you can find they worship Maheshwara, and it is called Mahendra Parbat in Cambodia. So at Bayan and other areas, even we find whom the Buddhists worship as goddess of learning, Pragya Paramita, and it is at Baneshwar Nasi presently we find the reminiscences, and in the State Museum we are having the images, and we have that idol in the temple like Bayan and great temple, and Pragya Paramita was the main deity. So these are the archaeologically, anthropologically, and if you have look at the geomorphological data of that time and this time, if you compare, and the trade activities and the exchanges, cultural exchanges, trade exchanges, all things were there right before Christ, BC. And this in your chronicles, it is clearly mentioned, of course, in 4th century, the Pali historical poem Deepavansa in the Island Chronicle, or in the 5th century in Mahavansa, in Kalinga Buddha Jatakas, and many scripts, it was vividly mentioned about the connection between Kalinga and Sri Lanka. And with the indigenous group and the people around, how King Vijay of Kalinga went with his 700 families, where Professor Bitaran later contradicted that 2,500 families, more than 2,500 families have migrated. So whatever may be the fact, he first established that Sinhala kingdom. The Kalingan connection is vivid, and in the around 3rd AD, and the cultural minister, Minister Culture, and Dr. Mansingh mentioned about the Buddhist relic thing, which was taken away by Hemamala. And Hemamala was the daughter of Guhasiva, the king of Kalinga, and he went with the prince Dantakumar and took that Buddhist relic in 310 AD, and it was established there. And which later on, in a festival form, the emperor Nishanka, around 10th, 11th AD, he used to do the Asal Yatra, the festival near Kandy. And the name of His Excellency Ambassador is Asela Birkun. Am I right? So, from Kandy, because he is from Kandy area, so that is from, if you see the festivals, the archaeological similarity, the archaeological historical data, anthropological data, and which researchers are finding yet to be explored. We have to explore many more things for the future. From the gold coins, the Anantavarman Chodagangadev connection, the Sanandas, and right from Sushima, Shupadevi to Triloka Sundari, and to the great kings of Parakramabahu, Birabahu, Sahasamalla, Nisankamalla. Our Nisankamalla, he will establish the Kalinga Udyan, Kalinga Ban, and the Kalinga Nagar, and renaming the capital city of the present day Kandy. So whether Anuradhapur or Polunurva or the destinations at Kandy, and all these things, and you have the Kalingan connection and Kalingan influence, and in the language also, you find the similarity, some resemblances, and this has to be, research has to be done over this, all these data, the archaeological thing, the historical thing, the language linkage, and all these things have to be done in a very systematic way. And I hope the Kalingan Foundation, in partnership with Utkal University, because earlier, although they have presence of Theravadi Buddhism in Sri Lanka, but Mahajanic Buddhist schools were there also. Maybe later on, you are not finding it. And the presence of people like Gunavarman, and Vajrabhuti. These are the names, and they were propagating this Mahajanic Buddhism in Buddhist schools. So knowledge exchanges were there. So now, how knowledge exchanges can take place? How the historical prospect and our great linkages with Sri Lanka can be re-established? Yes, Sri Lanka is in South Asia, is our largest trade partner today. But how from this part of India, the linkage can happen? And with the establishment of the air linkage and the knowledge exchanges, the Utkal University, collaboration of Utkal University along with universities of Sri Lanka and other universities of Orissa, the things can go in a very humble but in a big way, and lot of exchanges has to be needed. Sriman Singh ji mentioned about the textile exhibition in future, and I offer that with these we can have a trade delegation, industry delegation, and exchange of this can happen during that period. So in the evening the cultural programs can happen, and the daytime the textile exhibitions and these workshops and the visit of industrialists from Sri Lanka can happen. So collaborations between present Sri Lanka and Orissa can be taken into a big way. So congratulations for Kalinga Foundation for this 2 days workshop, and I hope in the subsequent deliberations, in the seminars, in the workshops, and hopefully I will remain present to listen from scholars and professors, and we can interact, and in the panel discussion, some new light on this relationship can be thrown open. Thank you very much.
Now it's my pleasure to invite His Excellency the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, Mr. S.L. Hirakun, to give his address.
Your Excellency, Sri S.G. Jamir, Governor of Odisha, the guests of honor, the Honorable Sri Devi Prasad Mishra, Minister of Industries, the Honorable Sri Ashok Chandra Panda, Minister of Tourism, Honorable Sri Baijan Panda, Member of the Lok Sabha, Sri Gokul Chandra Pati, Chief Secretary, Government of Odisha, Srimati Namrata Kumar, Deputy Director General, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, distinguished academics and panelists from Sri Lanka and India, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and a privilege to attend the international seminar organized by the Kalinga Lanka Foundation on Kalinga Lanka, reviving old linkages and exploring new opportunities. I bring greetings and felicitations from the government and the people of Sri Lanka on this important occasion. At the outset, I wish to express my deep and sincere appreciation to the organizers of this important initiative, namely Ambassador Lalit Man Singh, former Foreign Secretary of India and President of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation, Professor A.K. Das, Vice Chancellor of the Utkal University, Sri D.P. Bagchi, former Chief Secretary of Odisha and member of the Governing Board of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation. I also wish to recognize the role of my predecessors, Ambassador Prasad Karyavasam and Professor Sudarshan Senaviratna, in the founding and establishment of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation. I will be remiss in my duty if I fail to acknowledge the indefatigable Secretary of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation, Mr. Samit Das. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is very propitious and timely that the international seminar on Kalinga Lanka is taking place this year, that is in November 2015. This has been a momentous year for Sri Lanka-India relations, as was very ably and very articulately explained to you by the past distinguished speakers. There were many high-level visits from Sri Lanka to India and from India to Sri Lanka this year. In February 2015, President Maithripala Sirisena made a state visit to India. In March of 2015, Prime Minister Honorable Narendra Modi made an official visit to Sri Lanka. And in September 2015, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe from Sri Lanka made an official visit to India. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the early Kalinga-Lanka relations show a different type of relationship between a powerful continental power and a neighboring island kingdom. Historical relationship was based on values such as righteousness, truth, restraint, duty, ethics, and reverence for life. I will not go too deep into the historical links because I want to recognize the distinguished academics who have also traveled all the way from Sri Lanka to participate on this important occasion. I recognize Professor Nandadeva, Professor Anura Manatunga, Professor Sandagomi Koparaheva, and Professor Anoma Aberatna. Sadly, this morning, Professor Asanka Tilakaratna could not be with us, but I'm sure he'll be joining us for the academic sessions tomorrow. The Kalinga-Lanka Foundation is an idea whose time has come. As one writer recently suggested in his title, the title of the book is To Uphold the World, a call for a new global ethic from ancient India. The author is Bruce Rich, as you may know. And to quote him, he said, "We live in a Kautilyan world, but more than ever, we need an Ashokan ethic." Kalinga-Lanka relations constitute a narrative of timeless relevance. These are the conduits between the Asokan Empire at its heights of splendor and a neighboring island nation. The theme of today's discussion is reviving old linkages and exploring new opportunities. In it, we can identify two propositions. One, the old linkages require revival. There lies opportunities that call to be assessed, identified, and exploited. If the mission of the Arahat Mahinda to Sri Lanka was the first diplomatic encounter between India and Sri Lanka, the mission of Therini Sangamitta, who carried the sapling of the Jayasri Mahabodhi, is the first recorded bilateral technology transfer between the two nations. The advent of Buddhism, the planting of the south sapling of the Jayasri Mahabodhi, the transfer of the custody of the sacred tooth relic are the most inviolate moments of Lankan history. The stories of Arahat Mahinda, Therini Sangamitta, Prince Danta, and Princess Hemamala evoke sentiments from the deepest recesses of the Sri Lankan subconscious. In other words, it constitutes the living history of bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka. What of the future? The eastern littoral of India and Sri Lanka offer great opportunities in the Bay of Bengal economic zone. History offers enough evidence to support this hypothesis. The flourishing ports on the Indian eastern shoreline were Tamralipit, Palur, Kalingapatnam, Dharanikota, Arikamedu, and Pumpuhur. From these ports, ships sailed to the northern coast of Sri Lanka and principally to Gokarna, which is present-day Trincomalee. The Sri Lankan ports of Trincomalee and Lankapatna were used from 2nd century AD in international trade in the Bay of Bengal. The modern Bay of Bengal, as you know, was once known as the Kalinga Sea. Today, the Bay of Bengal has emerged as a pivotal area of economic activity in the Indo-Pacific area. It is also a part of the Indian Ocean that connects India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. It offers access to one of the world's vital trading routes. The challenge and the promise of the Kalinga Foundation is to reignite this spirit. To conclude, I mentioned the high-level visits that have taken place between the leaders of Sri Lanka and India. One of the important factors we are working on at the moment is to sign as early as possible the India-Sri Lanka Economic and Technology Cooperation Agreement. The two Prime Ministers agreed during the official visit of my Prime Minister to India in September that the first draft of the India-Sri Lanka Economic and Technology Cooperation Agreement will be submitted to the Government of India by the end of this year. We don't have much time, but I can assure you and all the distinguished members here that Sri Lanka is working very hard to meet this timeline. And once the draft is approved by the Government of India, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka has invited the Prime Minister of India to visit Sri Lanka in 2016, either in the month of April or May, to sign this agreement. So there is the connectivity. And once again, I wish to reiterate how timely it is that we are having this important international seminar to discuss rebuilding and, as the Honorable Member of Parliament said, revitalizing the linkages between Sri Lanka and India. Some thoughts for the future, and I will conclude, as the Honorable Minister also mentioned in his statement, perhaps some of the things that we could deliberate at this seminar and take forward is that an international seminar of this magnitude should be held in Sri Lanka the next time. We have to establish the air connectivity between Bhubaneswar and Colombo. As many of you are aware, Sri Lankan Airlines has daily flights from Colombo to Delhi, and Air India also has a daily flight from Colombo to Delhi. We also have another airline which is called Mihin Lanka. Mihin Lanka also flies to various destinations in India and also flies to Dhaka in Bangladesh. So we have to seriously work and think of how we could get either Sri Lankan Airlines or Mihin Lanka to fly to Bhubaneswar as well. If it has not happened already, since we have very distinguished academics from Sri Lanka, from the University of Colombo, from the University of Kelaniya, we have to think of a memorandum of understanding between the University of Utkal and a similar university of high standing in Sri Lanka, because that would lead to academic mobility and student exchanges between the two institutions and two countries. I will not, there's a long program and seminar to be attended, but once again, it is my honor and privilege to be here. I wish the seminar all success, and once again, my grateful thanks to the Kalinga Foundation and the University of Utkal for hosting this important international seminar. Thank you very much.
I want to thank His Excellency, the High Commissioner, Mr. S.L. Veerappan, for his address. He has given us a lot of ideas to ponder over, but I wish to thank him for making the suggestion that the next international seminar on Kalinga Lanka will be held in Sri Lanka, and industrial and economic cooperation for tourism, and I'm sure that this is the beginning of greater connectivity between Sri Lanka and the eastern part of India. It is now my privilege to invite the Honorable Governor of Odisha, Sri S.C. Jamir, to give his inaugural address. Sir.
Dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, let me at the outset thank the Kalinga Lanka Foundation for extending this invitation and inaugurate the Odisha chapter of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation today. I take this opportunity to share a few thoughts with the distinguished audience present here. The seminar held on the backdrop of Honorable Prime Minister's stress on forging a new partnership with one of our most important neighbors assumes great significance. Again, the recent state visit by Honorable President of Sri Lanka to India promises a strong foundation for consolidating and strengthening the bilateral partnership by harnessing the innermost potential available. First, let me appreciate the effort of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation in organizing this seminar as part of their endeavor to receive the close relationship existed between Kalinga, the present Odisha, and Lanka, the present day Sri Lanka. The foundation established by some like-minded intellectuals of Odisha with active support of the High Commission of Sri Lanka aims at rejuvenating the relation by exploring new means of linkage in a number of key sectors like education, art and culture, tourism and investment. Sri Lanka's relations with Kalinga are immersed in a mist of history. The ancient chronicles of Lanka or that of Kalinga and the archaeological evidences tell us how the ancient people of these two regions enjoyed a strong sense of connectivity. The two regions also enjoyed common Buddhist heritage, and it was another key means of strong connectivity. Benevolent influence of Kalinga's emperor Ashoka resulted in the adoption of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. The ancient kingdom of Anuradhapura, where Buddhism was received from Emperor Ashoka's son Mahinda, saw the development of monasteries, which developed into primary seats of learning and were visited by scholars and pilgrims from many parts of Asia. The transfer of Lord Buddha's sacred tooth relic to Lanka by Kalinga king Kuaseva through his daughter Himamala and son-in-law Danda is still venerated by the Buddhists in the island nation as a manifestation of this strong bond. The tooth relic is considered a national symbol of Lanka. Apart from a common Buddhist heritage, history says that the founder of Sinhala race was Kalinga's Prince Vijaya. The trace of Buddhism in Odisha dates one to the ancient period, as old as the day when two merchants, Tapusa and Bhalika from Utkal, now Odisha, became Lord Buddha's first disciples. Buddhism became a world religion only after famous Kalinga-Ashoka War. First time in world history, a conqueror get conquered by non-violence and truth, and a devout Buddhist emperor, Ashoka became the patron of the tenets of Buddhism across the world. It is here that the foundation of great religion and culture was laid. This is a major contribution of Odisha or Kalinga in shaping the socio-cultural map of several countries in Southeast Asia, Far East, and also in Sri Lanka. In spreading Buddhism to the world, Odisha held a torch of peace and non-violence. I think this message of tolerance and understanding is of great relevance today as we see the tragic results of intolerance and hatred leading to violence and destruction and great loss to societies. This message of peace, non-violence, and tolerance is often equally important in the present world. It is our duty to spread this message further and deeper, both in our region and the larger world. When the world faces threats of climate change due to a polluted environment, the Buddhist Code of Environmental Protection prescribes both to lay followers as well as for monks should be promoted for a symbiotic relationship between the human and his environment. I expect Kalinga Lanka Foundation has a special task in this regard. Buddhism had a great impact on Odisha's history and geography. It has great impact on Odisha life and culture. The flourishing era of Buddhism could be felt and experienced when one walks through the vistas of Buddhism on Odisha that included a number of Buddhist centers of learning, art, and establishment in several places. Ratnagiri is believed to be a superb destination of learning for the Buddhism of Tantric cult, that is Vajrayana. These places of Buddhist interest have been a great source of attraction to outside visitors, including the famous Chinese traveler Hyun Xiang. In fact, the diamond triangle of Lalitgiri, Udaigiri, Ratnagiri continues to fascinate visitors and scholars with archaeological findings. Monasteries of Ratnagiri, Lalitgiri, and Udaigiri produce veritable masterpieces of Buddhist art which are said to have influenced contemporary schools of Buddhist art in Southeast Asia. Like Buddhism, Kalinga contribution to maritime trade and commerce is highly significant. Situated on the shore of Bay of Bengal, the ancient Kalinga has a long coastline. Kalinga's importance for trans-Asian maritime trade seems to have been strengthened by its location. It was not just a zest for commerce that had attracted sailors and merchants of Kalinga to far-up islands. It had its impact on as art, culture, and tradition as well. Even folklore of Odisha spread all these regions, and the island nation of Sri Lanka is no exception to it. It is heartening to find that the influence built several centuries ago is still prevailing. However, it is an irony of history that a great maritime tradition has been dwindled, and it is high time to revive the tradition for the upliftment of the two regions. Today, with new horizon of hope rising in Sri Lanka, and the rise of India on the world stage offering enormous possibilities, we have a historic opportunity to once again renew our historical link and restore our age-old ties. Both regions, island nation and Odisha, are richly endowed with natural resources and human capital. Both are strategically located in the Indian Ocean with easy access to the expanding market of Southeast Asia and East Asia. Promoting joint ventures and facilitating tourism and religious pilgrimage had rich potential benefits for both the region. The future, like the past, has to be intertwined, and two regions should march in tandem with the clear objectives of promoting peace and prosperity. It is time to rediscover and reinvigorate the rich historic connect by way of multifaceted initiative for promotion of modern-day people-to-people context, re-establishment of links in art and culture, education, skill development, science and technology, tourism, and business. Entrepreneurs from Odisha and Sri Lanka should encourage to go for joint ventures. I hope the foundation would encourage investment to exploit the human and mineral resources of the two regions. Sri Lanka is a multi-ethnic, multicultural nation just like India. The island nation was well known for many things, including precious stones, ivory, and spices. Sri Lanka's social indicators are among the best in Asia. It enjoyed near universal literacy with a very narrow gender gap. Cooperation will be very vital for improving social indicators. When Odisha is emerging as an education hub in the entire eastern India, networking with leading education institutions will give students of both regions greater exposure. I am told that the foundation would promote studies of Kalinga Lanka shared history and culture, as well as academic cooperation between the institutions of the two regions. It would also promote research in social, cultural, and economic ties and give institutional support to scholars and artists. It is heartening that the foundation would be promoting and facilitating visits of tourists and pilgrimages to sites in island nation and Odisha. We have a university especially for cultural studies, and linking the university with that of the island nation will promote studies as well as research to explore new information. I have confined my words to a very few thoughts, especially the value of ancient linkage and Buddhist heritage, as it is just like the tip of iceberg. I leave the rest to the learned participants, academicians, and scholars at this seminar. I urge you to focus in your dedication, deliberation, not only on sharing your own knowledge among yourself, but to seek ways and means to protect historical, cultural, and intellectual value as you endeavor to share this knowledge for the benefit of all people of two regions. More importantly, you may wish to seek ways and means as how historical links could be used as a tool for creating prosperity in both regions. With these words, I wish this seminar, the initiative by the Kalinga Lanka Foundation, all success. Thank you.
I wish to thank His Excellency the Governor, Sri S.C. Jamir, for his inspiring address. He is not only the Governor and the first citizen of the state of Orissa. Let us remember that he is also the Chancellor of this university and of all the universities in Orissa. Therefore, it's a special privilege that he is here with us to launch this very important international seminar. And now I have pleasure in inviting my colleague B.P. Bagchi, former Chief Secretary of Orissa, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Your Excellency, distinguished persons on the dais and off the dais, it is my pleasant duty to propose a vote of thanks. 2 months ago, Ambassador Mansingh and I called on His Excellency the Governor, and after talking to us about the concept of the seminar, he readily agreed to inaugurate it. We are deeply indebted to you, sir, for this gesture. The High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Sri Weerakkon, has just recently joined, and in his first visit outside Delhi, he is covering our state, Orissa. We are very, very appreciative of this matter, Your Excellency. And we have, during our short tenure of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation, we have had the privilege to deal with 3 High Commissioners, and all of them, I'm happy to say, have been very, very supportive of this idea. In fact, all the meetings of the governing body of the foundation have so far been held, except one. The other meetings have been held in the premises of the High Commission building in Delhi. In this context, I'll be failing in my duties if I fail to mention the name of Mr. Kapila Fonseca. He's the Minister in the High Commission. He has been personally very, very supportive of the foundation. Honorable Minister Industries, Sri Devi Prasad Misra, we are namesakes. I rang him up one night from Delhi on his mobile number. He was addressing a public meeting in a village in Badamba. As soon as the meeting was over, he was kind enough to return my call and he agreed that he will attend our seminar. In fact, we wanted him to be the chief guest at the valedictory function, but tonight he is required to go to Delhi for an urgent meeting with the Minister HRD there. So he not only agreed to reschedule his visit here, he is going to chair the afternoon technical session, and he is an expert in the subject. He is an erudite scholar himself. We are deeply indebted to him for his support, and we sincerely hope that he will be the leader of the industries delegation to Sri Lanka, forthcoming industrial delegation. We are grateful to Honorable Minister Tourism and Culture, Sri Ashok Kumar Panda. Again, I called him up on the mobile from Delhi. He said the World Tourism Congress is taking place around that time in London, and as minister I am required to go there, and if I for any reason don't go there, I will certainly attend this function. So London's loss has been our gain, but I must acknowledge that since he was scheduled to leave for London, he had issued clear instructions to the Departments of Tourism and Department of Culture to cooperate with us, and as a result of that, both the organizations have been extremely cooperative. The foundation is very grateful to Minister Sri Ashok Kumar Panda. Sri Bajant Panda, Honorable Member of Parliament, I feel embarrassed to praise him because he is like my son. He is an outstanding parliamentarian. Orissa is proud of you, Mr. Panda. He has, again, when I rang him up on my mobile to his mobile, he readily agreed to be a patron of the Kalinga Lanka Foundation. Sri Bhartrahari Mahatap is a very active member of the foundation, member of parliament, for reasons, very important reasons. He couldn't come at the last moment, but he will be receiving the distinguished scholars from Sri Lanka day after tomorrow at Cuttack, at the Maritime Museum. He has promised to do that. I am very grateful to Sri Kakul Pati, my colleague, and now the Chief Secretary of the State. We have been colleagues for a long time, and I always called him a Sthita Pragya. Whenever any assistance was required from him, he has been very responsive, and he has tried to sort things out at his level or even at higher levels. Gokul, we are proud of you. Miss Namrata Kumar, as the name indicates, she is Namrata personified, distinguished Deputy Director General of ICCR. Orissa is full of cultural heritage, so I would request Namrata to visit this state as often as she can. We are thankful to you for your kind visit. The Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ashok Kumar Das, again, Ambassador Mansingh and I called on him. We inquired about his background before coming. We were told that he is a very distinguished nuclear scientist and the Vice Chancellor of this university. This campus, Ambassador Mansingh and I have been lecturers for some time. We have been students of this university. All our certificates say Utkal University. We are proud of the fact that we have been students of this university, And Dr. Das, we are proud that you are our Vice Chancellor, a distinguished scientist of your eminence. Dr. Kishore Basa, Professor of Anthropology, Dr. Sanjay Acharya, Professor of Ancient Indian History. They have been the real brains, they have contributed their brains and also their bronze. And till midnight yesterday they have been working. I am really grateful to them. Dr. S.K. Mahanti has been assisting them, and he is a very energetic person. Corporate members, IMFA, TK International Limited, the Managing Director, Mr. Manambar Patra is here, Kajaria Ceramics, TPA, Department of Tourism, OTDC, Department of Culture, they have been assisting us. We have received cooperation from Mayfair, Bhubaneswar Club, Mindtree, Mahamadi Society of India, Bhubaneswar branch. In this audience, we have distinguished persons like Dr. Devi Prasanna Patnaik, an internationally renowned linguist, he is sitting here. Sri K.P. Singh, former Union Minister. I am very deeply connected to him and his family for 3 generations. In fact, when my mother was expecting me, my father was posted as second officer of Kamakya Nagar. In fact, the previous year, 1941, he was born. I don't know, sir, if you remember. And when you were born, the town Madi was renamed as Kamakya Nagar. And in 1942, next year, I was born. So you're only 1 year senior to me. Dr. Jatin Das is an active member of our governing body. So I don't have to thank him. We are happy that he could make it. I can go on, but because of the constraint of time, I stop here. We are very grateful to OTV, our TV partner, the print and electronic media who are present here. If I have omitted some names, I will make up for it tomorrow at the valedictory session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bakshi. And now I request the ladies and gentlemen kindly rise for the national anthem. And then please remain in your seats while we sing the